Hey, this is Harrison Tash with Living Water Consulting. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine podcast. I do. I submit. I love this podcast, so you should too. It's with my good friend Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. I had some fantastic conversation with a good friend of mine, Harrison Tash from Living Water Consulting. Harrison comes from the place of a heart, God man, someone that I just resonate with really well. And he really brought it on the mic because he's authentically relatable. Like he goes into companies, big companies, and really helps them really see a vision. But again, he comes from a place of trust and love, and that really resonated with me. And we just had a fun conversation, and I cannot wait to bring it to you. And if you know anybody or know any business owners or entrepreneurs or whatnot that really might need to hear this, please share it with them. Or if you'd like to like or smash the subscribe button, that would be awesome as well, because it helps my sponsors and affiliates. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, Harrison Tash from Living Water Consulting. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I have a fellow Midwesterner. People that know me, I come from the Mitten, from Michigan, and I got my guy that absolutely levels up companies, large and small. He's a very ambitious director and leader of a large corporation. He diagnosed, developed, and led multiple programs, including hiring, staff, professional development, recruiting, acquisition, integration, and strategic planning. He's helped lead company leadership of a $400 million business through the rebirth of their strategic planning and execution. This experience eventually led him to start his own business where he helps successful CEOs and entrepreneurs scale and streamline their businesses so they can have the freedom that they deserve. And this is my guy, Harrison Tash from Living Water Consulting. Harrison, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Man, I gotta say the energy you're bringing, man, it's rising me up. It's
That's
rising
right.
me
We
up.
level
So
up
I know
here,
why
baby.
people I know why people are listening to this podcast, including myself. But my favorite color is definitely hunter green.
Really?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Let's open that one up, man. Why is it hunter green? I mean, if you're watching on Vimeo or YouTube, this dude's like should be on the cover of GQ, by the way, man. This guy is like a stud and everything. And he could probably rock any color, but why hunter green?
Well, okay. Hunter green is just, so I'm an artist. I love to paint.
Okay.
I do a lot of like famous people. So I love like Einstein and Frank Sinatra. So I just like catch these people who have like an impact on our lives. And so I just love color. But one of my favorite things to do is to literally just look up in the trees and just see all the different kinds of greens. I mean, I love that when I'm out in nature. So that's definitely a piece of it. Yeah.
And when we were talking earlier, you're like, I kind of dig the snow. So you're kind of like a naturey guy. I love it, dude. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's very cool. So let's get to kind of the roots of you, Harrison. Like, where'd you kind of start? And I'm really curious. That's my superpower is curiosity, is that
Yeah.
you're an artsy guy, but you're in the consulting world, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't really see that. I actually help like the artists and stuff like that kind of meet their blind spots, right? Or see them and push them. But how did an artsy guy really get into and really helping up large, powerful CEOs, CFOs in the C-suite of the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. And you're exactly right. Like, I guess you normally don't put the two together, but I'll put it in the words of one of my clients who I've worked with for like 5 years now. And they're an amazing company, Dancer Concrete Design in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Amazing company. Good shout out to them. Go check them out. But one of the things that he's always encouraged me, and when we started work together, was, hey, one of your best talents is visually helping people see the problems that they're going through and how to actually visually get themselves to a more clear and focused spot with it.
Wow.
And so I use a lot of my skills within the artist world to be able to show people kind of where they are. So visually going through it and finding out where the problems are. So that's a big piece of it for sure.
Bro, that's strong because like if they can see it, then they can actually come pull towards it, right? And for you to be able to help them draw that picture, that's amazing, brother. So how about your roots? Were you a college guy? Like what's your story and your background?
Yeah, that's a good question. So roots, essentially, like when I was in college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to go to college just to go to college, but luckily I played soccer, and so I went to college anyways because honestly, I wanted to be as I'm a very high competitive person,
I can
right?
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so being in that world and being able to compete is what got me through it. And then once I got into my after school, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, which was like where a lot of people are. It's like you got to find that passion, all this stuff.
Right.
All I knew I was passionate about was people. I just love people, right? I love watching them. I love interacting. I love just knowing like people getting better.
Mm.
So people was my passion. And so I didn't know how to put that into, so I started going down HR and stuff like that. But anyways, I had a really good course in my master's program that was about organizational development.
Sure.
And I just saw like there was just so many things that paralleled to what my passion was. And that's how I got into consulting eventually was I just started helping our company with all these different areas
Right.
and just realized that like you can level up and shore up different areas of a company and small wins equal large success over time. So
That's spot on, man. Because like you became, we both can probably agree that value is a limitless commodity, right? We can always provide.
right,
And I'm
that's right.
saying in that, I love that you basically said what I kind of coach my squad is inch by inch, it's a cinch, right? By the yard, it's hard. Like these companies,
That's
whether it's,
right.
let's give it the shout out, the Dancer, Concrete and Design, if they want it to be right now, it's just not happening, man. It didn't like when you, especially when you deal with people, even on the personal side where they want to lose weight, it didn't take them 2 weeks to get 30 pounds overweight, right? It's going to be
Yeah,
that
that's right.
time. I love that you took the inch by inch. It's a long, short steps, long vision. I love that. So, what do you think if you're starting to work with a company and you have that discovery, make sure you're the right horse for the course, right? Let's say you're in that time, that discussion. Is there any secret sauce, if you don't mind sharing, Harrison, that you maybe use to help them initially find that initial blind spot?
Yeah, that's a great question. By the way, I love the rhyming that you have, man. Inch is a cinch. Make sure you're the
But
right
it's
horse for
the
the
creative
course.
side that just starts coming out that gets people to catch it.
Yeah,
So,
I love it. I
right.
love it. Yeah, there's certainly ways to help people find their blind spots, especially when you're talking organizationally. But first, you have to start with leadership, right? We have a proprietary program called the 8 to Great, and essentially it breaks it down. But the first four foundational four is leadership health, compelling vision, purpose and why, and core values. And so we'll start right there, just understanding those four dynamics of your company. And what we find a lot of times is that companies have not built themselves on a solid foundation, which would be those four things, right? Leadership, health,
Yeah.
compelling vision, their purpose, and their core values. If they can build on that, we know that they're building their company on a solid foundation. But if they're not, I mean, that's a part of the assessment is like, okay, like your boots on the ground per se
Sure.
aren't even understanding what your vision is for the company. They
Right.
don't even they can't even say what values you actually have, or they can't tell us what's the purpose behind your company because it can't be to make money.
Right.
There's a lot of people trying to make money, and you got to stand out beside that, and you got to have something that drives you further than just making a buck and two. You know what I mean?
Love
So
it, man. So, what are the core values over at Living Water?
yeah, good question. I mean, first off, we seek truth, man. That's what we seek. We seek truth. So beyond anything else, we're trying to figure out what is the truth in the matter, right? And so we're not trying to sugarcoat it. But another core value is that we do it in love, right? Like we won't say it and we won't do it unless we know that we're going to do it because we want to say it and do it in love, right? We want to make sure that it's
Yeah.
it's in that way. But honestly, all our core values are built on those two. So
Love it.
everything that we do is built on that truth and love, man. Like
Truth
we're
and love.
seeking it and we're trying to figure out how to do it. And I know that sounds a little squishy, but at the
No,
end of the
dude, come on.
yeah,
People need to hear this. I don't care if they think they're too big for it, but I just hearing that you do what you love in the service of people that love what you do,
yeah,
right?
there
Because
you go.
you love helping people, and people freaking see that, and they're like, and that's why you're successful with that. I love it. So maybe we're still in that discovery conversation with the decision maker to bring Living Water aboard.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
You know what people never ask me
Yeah.
is how much work will it take?
Ah.
Nobody asked that question. And I mean, coming from this business, right? It takes work.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants this kind of turnkey solution. They want this like magic button push. And I have to force it out of the CEO, out of the president, and I have to say like, hey, you haven't asked this question, but I'm going to tell you right now, this takes work. And so it costs money, but it also costs your time and energy. And are you willing to put forth the accountability and the change that needs to happen to get to where you want to go?
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So no one's asking that question.
Love it. The work that's involved. And that's what they put in the grind, and you help them with to manage it. I love that. Love that. So, I mean, you get brought into a company, and you're probably brought in by like a high leader, whether it's a CEO or the COO, right? So there's people below them, right? That are like, I can see the smile creeping up, that are like, why the hell are you bringing in this Harrison dude to level us up? How do you work with that person to really get them on board with the truth and love that you're really trying to spread through the company to help them level up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're exactly right. I mean, it comes into play almost every time. There's always somebody, whether it's middle management, director level, or even VP status, like there's always somebody who disagrees with bringing someone in. And to be honest with you, man, it's like anything else. It's how do you build trust? And I mean, everyone knows this, that like when you're genuine and you do have that vulnerability factor to you where you can be truthful, I think people respect that. And so it's about gaining trust fast.
Yeah.
Like if you can gain that trust fast, and here's some ways that I've done it. I've certainly been in that situation where we've even had like the CFO didn't want me in there, right? Like this is something like that's happened within the last few years. CFO didn't want me in. Not that they actually said it, but it was like, hey, if I know someone doesn't want me there, and I'll be very upfront with the CEO and I'll let them know, I'm going to seek that person out until I gain some favor. And how I'm going to gain favor is I'm going to be truthful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm not going to bring you roses to try to cheer you up or whatever. Right. You know, what I'm going to do is honestly, I'm going to hit the problem right up at the front and just say, hey, I feel like there's a little bit of tension here, and it's normal. And I'll let them know, hey, it's normal. But at the end of the day, we got to figure this out because me and you are going to be working together for a year, and it's already signed on the dotted line. So
it is. And I'm pretty much paid, dude. So it's better. Like that. I love that you didn't make it a competition with them. You made a collaboration and synergy. That's amazing, brother. Because that's the first thing that I seek that person out. I look for the rolled eyes in the room. I look for the slump. If I'm brought into a company, you look for that dude. And I don't be, like you said, I don't try to be his buddy, his best friend, but I try to get him on board with everything I'm doing and get super curious with that. Because, man, you get that one person on board, it's game on, bro. Right? It's there. So have you ever seen the movie Back to the Future?
Oh, man, of course. Who has?
Can I ask your age first, if you don't mind?
So I'm actually 36. So
okay.
Yeah,
dude, you look like you're 27. Dude.
I know, man. I know. It's a blessing and a curse.
Never lose. I mean, I'm 51, and I get, I don't get 36 anymore, but I'm not like the typical 51, right?
Scott, I would have told you, you look no older than 45.
My man, I'll take
there you go.
Brother. I'll take it. So let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, right? Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Harrison.
Yeah.
What kind of knowledge nuggets, that's what we call him here at Time to Shine today, but what kind of knowledge nuggets might you drop on him? Not so much to change anything, because your journey is pretty awesome. You've experienced some really cool stuff, but to maybe shorten his learning curve, level up, and blast through, maybe just a little bit quicker.
Yeah. First, I'm going to ask, what are those blind spots, right? Because when somebody is, whether it's a CEO trying to rush into something to get some quick change, or it's someone at the VP level who's introducing me to the top level to get the foot in the door. Either way you look at it, the first thing I'm going to ask is when we're one-on-one like that is, hey, what are your blind spots? And to be honest with you, most people know a few, but you normally can't name 3 right off the top of your head. It takes you a little bit to think about it. And the reason is because we never look back. We don't reflect very well as humans. It takes time to reflect. right? So
Mm-hmm.
blind spots is definitely going to be a first spot because I want to know first off, and I'm going to write this down right away. I'm going to put it in the notes. Whatever they think their blind spots are, I'm going to put a question mark behind it, not a period, because I'm going to figure out if that's true or not.
Love that, dude. So who in your life then holds you most accountable?
Yeah, good question. Well, if you're married, who that is.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my wife definitely holds me accountable, but I have a few different groups of guys. I have a Bible study group of guys
Nice,
that we do a
nice.
Bible study with, and they're always asking the great questions. Like, hey, Harrison, where's your eyes? Right? Like,
Yeah,
where are you looking these days? But I also have a great group of guys that we do the Murph every Saturday. Well,
nice.
what I will say is that this summer was a little hard for me, so I didn't do it every Saturday, but
Yeah,
90% of the year we're doing a Murph every Saturday, right?
love it.
And so if you haven't been through that, you put on the
No,
vest,
Maddie would be
you
happy you're
run.
doing that, brother.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah,
young
yeah,
buck in the military, so I
yeah,
know his family. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. Yes, great. That's awesome, man. And so yeah, we do that every Saturday, but there's a lot of accountability that happens in that, right? It's
Yeah,
like when you don't show up and someone texts you and says, "Hey man, where you been at?"
right.
It's like, "Oh yeah, I probably should have showed up." But what I say is it's like it's if you go back to atomic habits, it's habit stacking, right? So if you're disciplined with your physical self, all of a sudden your mental discipline starts rising to the top. And some people say you need the one before the other. And what I think for me, it's been just constant ladder approach with both, right?
Yeah,
So there's that group, and then also I have very close mentors who we meet up monthly, and I get that kind of accountability through them. And so one of them is actually my high school principal, and then my dad. So
brother. What I love about you is you love that you live that plus equals minus life. Like I think that every day Harrison wakes up and finds people that he respects and kind of wants to emulate. Right, that's your plus. The
oh
equals
yeah.
is like what we're doing right now, man. We're rapping, we're bouncing stuff off each other, right? But I also see you sending the elevator down, man, and bringing somebody up to you. That's the minus, and that is super impressive. I mean,
Well,
that's awesome.
Scott, let me where you're at in life when someone asks you to be their mentor and then it hits you. You're like, "Oh wait, one
Yes.
I'm getting old. I'm starting to get a little gray hair, right? Like, oh no, I'm getting old." And
Right.
two, you've actually you had so much humility, and I think that you're in the same spot. You have so much humility where you keep looking up to people and you're like, "Wait, you think I'm a mentor? I'm
Yeah,
still
dude.
getting mentored,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean mentor me?" You
Love
know?
that. Yeah.
So,
My mentor's like, listen, Fergie, the more you mentor, the more immortal you become. Right.
mm,
Because if I can pass that on and pass it on, those people are going to pass it on. Because
yeah.
all I'm doing is, even with my book that I'm writing, it's called Regurgitate, right?
Okay.
Basically, I'm writing about people that I've interviewed, which you'll be in a chapter as well, because it's going to have a chapter for every interview. But I'm regurgitating what I take away from it. It's no different than Tony Robbins regurgitating Jim Rohn, who regurgitated Earl Nightingale all the way back to like Seneca, right? So
Yeah.
all we're doing is we're taking it, putting our flavor on it. I love that you do that. So Harrison, if people really knew Harrison, they would know
Yeah.
what.
Oh man, I think I kind of alluded to it before, but I just love people, man. I love getting people together. I love laughing. There's nothing better than laughing for your soul. I mean, I just love it. And just the emotional attachment between humans is just I just love it. Whether you're crying, hugging, laughing, whatever it is, having fun. So if people know me, they would say that. But here's a funny one, I guess. I think at my funeral, there's gonna be like 60 voicemails replayed because whether you're a client, a friend, or a future friend, I'm going to leave you a 2-minute voicemail and it is going to be the most random, or I shouldn't say, yeah, it's going to be the most random voicemail you've ever received. I read it. I read an article not so long ago saying that they were going to get rid of voicemail, and I was like, I almost had a panic attack. I was like, wait, that's like my outlet. Like,
Dang,
what would
man.
I do? Yeah, it might be an Irishman that calls you. It could be just a crazy client. I'm acting as a client for you. It doesn't matter. I just love leaving voicemails, man. I don't know why.
That's awesome. I'm notorious for the videos because you'll get one today. Just
Yeah,
spoiler alert. Like after we record, dude, I usually walk my dog or something, and I'm like,
yeah,
I talk to people that way.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, how do you want your dash remembered, man? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date. Hopefully, it's way down the line, but your life date and death date. How does Harrison want his dash remembered?
Well, hopefully it has something to do with loving God first and loving people second. I mean, I obviously living water comes from a faith background.
I was going to ask that. You're taking my
Yeah,
question. I love
yeah,
it. Okay.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, the true living water obviously is what I want to point people back to. So
Sure.
yeah, that's definitely it. But other than that, I mean, I hope that people would say I was a good father and husband and was truly inspiration in some way, because I believe that I think everyone has the potential to be an inspiration to somebody,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And in a world where everyone's trying to seek for fame, why don't we try to seek fame in our own families first, right?
All day. Yeah.
And let's try to be the people in our own families want to be.
Sure.
And that goes for me too. Like I want to be certain pieces of everyone around me, right? I think Sylvester Stallone said, "I'm only a sum of everyone that I've ever met."
Dude, I don't know if
You
you watched
know,
that documentary, but it was pretty awesome, dude.
I haven't yet. It's on the list. It's
All I can
on the
say is that
list.
he wrote every movie by a part of his life. Like I'm not giving much away here at all, but Rocky 3, remember at the beginning, he was liked by everybody, and then he got brought down by Mr. T. It was like what happened in his life, and they parallel it to his life, and it was
Wow.
easy for him to write the movie. And how an
Yeah,
old friend brought him back up, Apollo
that's
3.
awesome.
It was crazy, dude. It's a great doc, man. And he
Yeah.
lives like just right down the street, kind of, man, like I don't know, like 6 blocks away here in North Palms where he vacations or he
Oh,
winters.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he moved over from the left coast over here now in the North Pole.
They
So
all do. They all do.
yeah. So what do you think people misunderstand the most about Harrison?
Oh, wow. You know what? I don't know if I've been asked
I think you're
that.
pretty transparent, dude.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
that's a really good question. One of the things that I think helps with finding your blind spots or those characteristic maybe flaws, or just like you said, like people misperceive it, is certainly like the disc live style. Shout out to live style. It's was grown in our area here.
yeah.
These kind of assessments that help you in that. Working Genius, Patrick
Oh yeah.
Lencioni
Yeah.
went out. That's really good. So if yeah, to answer that question, it would be this. I am one of those guys that are super relatable. And so you're going to have a very friendly Harrison most of the time. But what happens is that I'm also, my personality, after learning this through my personality assessments, my personality is also shut the door and get stuff done.
Right. Yeah.
And so I might be the most happy person in the world, but there might be days where I don't want to see a soul because I got stuff to get done.
Dude.
And so it's hard because I might walk past somebody that I wouldn't really say hi to, and they
Right.
think that something's wrong, but nothing's wrong. It's just
Yeah.
I'm in
You're locked
do it
in.
mode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm locked in.
Yeah. People don't see that to even get to your level, that people don't see like, okay, let's make the soccer analogy. I mean, how many corner kicks did you practice in your life? And
Oh
how many
yeah.
people watched you practice?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nobody watched, nothing.
Yeah, no one watched, but yeah,
Right.
you were there practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in there drilling at 5 a.m. on the jiu-jitsu mats. At 51 years old, I'm helping these kids drill. No one's seeing that. But when we
Right.
go to IBJJF in a couple of weeks, they get to show out. And I'm telling them, it doesn't matter what people see here. And I
Yeah.
love that you will admit and own and basically be authentically relatable to a lot of people, man, with that, because they grind in the dark. People don't
Yeah.
see. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
So
for sure.
what is your then definition of a life well lived?
Man, earlier we said for God and for people, but if I
Yeah.
want to elaborate on that a little bit
Yeah.
more, I think God made us to work, man. In a culture where people are trying to figure out how not to work and get paid the same amount of money as people who are working.
Yes.
I just think that a life worth lived is, yeah, for God and for people, but also I think it's one where you're exploring where your talents and skills are and sharpening those day after day and trying to get better.
Proverbs 27, right? Yeah, man.
Oh, as iron sharpens iron,
Yeah,
so
dude.
one person sharpens another. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Proverbs because one, the wisest man that ever lived, that God gave wisdom to, wrote that book, wrote
Yeah.
most of the chapters in there, almost all of them. And there's 31 chapters. So if you read a chapter a day, you can finish Proverbs. So I read it, I recycle it, man. So it's always first thing is Proverbs, bro. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back. And Harrison, you and I will hook up one day. I'm going to get you on. Actually, I have a couple of companies in mind actually for you to speak to, but also maybe a little on the speaking circuit, because you got to rock some stages, brother. And we can meet and talk about some of these questions, probably 15, 20 minutes on each one of them. You might even leave me a 2-minute voicemail on one of these questions, right? But today, with our lightning round, brother, you get 5 seconds with no explanations, and I promise you they can all be answered that way.
All right.
Ready to level up?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
All right. What is the best leveling up advice Harrison's ever received?
Yeah, plan or I have like so many ways of going, but I would say think before you speak and plan before you act.
Love it. Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Get up at 5 a.m. and exercise and read the Bible.
Moving. Yes. Love that. So you see me kind of walking down the street, or maybe we're an event. You're like, man, Fergie's looks like he's in his doldrums just a little bit, man. And like, what book other than the good book would you hand me to maybe level me up? What book really sparked you?
Okay, good question. I'm going to go with 4DX.
4DX? Okay.
4DX, yeah.
Got it. Love it. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
High fives.
High fives. Love it. Nicknames growing up?
Harry.
I love it. Love it. Any hidden talent or superpower that you have that really no one knows about? Well, until now.
You know what? I think I have a great ability to help people really solve their own personal problems.
Love that. Love it. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Chess for sure. Yeah.
Chess. Gotcha. Headline for your life?
Yeah. Love God, love people, truth and love.
That's it, baby. Any superstitions, or you pass on those?
Oh man. I don't.
He
think
doesn't want to admit it.
I don't know if I do or not. I'm trying to think.
All right.
Yeah,
We'll circle
I
back.
don't think I have one. Yeah, I don't know if I have one.
Love it. Go to ice cream flavor.
Man, yeah, vanilla.
Gotcha. Me too, actually, brother.
Yeah.
So there's a sandwich called Harry the Tank sandwich, man. Build that sandwich for me.
Build that sandwich for you. Oh, that's certainly got a nice burger for sure on it.
Man.
You said sandwich, but it's got burger meat on it. It's a burger with some with some bacon, lettuce,
man candy. There you go.
Yep, and then it's got to be like some sort of like candy laced bacon. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be for sure. But the bun is like that. It's kind of like that Italian bread. It's a little bit harder, right? So it doesn't just fall apart.
Yeah,
right?
got you. Love it, man. Good stuff. Favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
Destiny Rescue is one of my favorite organizations. Some of my family actually works for them. And after seeing what they do, it's amazing.
Let's elaborate a little bit. What do they do?
Yeah, so they help young women, or just women, I should say, out of human trafficking.
That's amazing.
Around the world. They're all over the place, mostly in Asian countries, and they are 80 some percent of what you give goes straight to the cause.
That's beautiful, brother. That's awesome. And last question, what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh man, I'm gonna go 70s.
All right, man. You know what? 80s was my jam because I grew up. I graduated in 1990, right? So 80s was my jam. So you had the invasion of U2 and Duran Duran or whatever, and you had the rap and Big Hair Don't Care. But like, if I'm editing a podcast, right, when I'm listening to yours and starting to build notes on it, I have the 70s on because the 70s is the best storytelling like era ever, from Croce to the Eagles to like So
for sure. Eagles was on my list for sure. Yeah. And I don't know where Queen fit into that or no?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
All right. So Queen, Eagles. I mean, there's so many good.
Yeah.
But I don't know where CCR fits into that, but I love CCR too.
Oh, yeah. CCR was like late 60s, early 70s, man. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone Down on the River. Like it's everything storytelling, and I love it. And that's fantastic. So how can we find you, brother?
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to look. Harrison Tash. Again, at Living Water Consulting. But my email is harrisontash@consultlivingwater.com.
Okay.
But those two ways are probably the best way to get a hold of me. And I'm always on LinkedIn. So it's a great way. But obviously we all are checking our emails once a day at least. So
sure. Absolutely, man. We got that. So If you don't mind, leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Okay, let me think about that. One of the things that Henry Ford said, and I don't know if anybody's heard this quote, but I'm sure the audience has. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right, baby.
And so what I'll leave you with is that is so true, and it's become more and more evident that whatever we put in front of us, if we think we can actually reach it, we'll reach it.
Love it.
And I mean, I think some people think like, oh, I could never become a millionaire, or I could never reach the dream of being that weight and being that kind of in shape, or whatever it is, or I could never reach that position in this organization. And it's exactly the way Henry Ford said it. It's like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're exactly right.
What you think is real is your reality, brother. And I love that, man. That's beautiful. And squad, we just had a super fun conversation with my good friend here, Harrison Tash, who a big shout out to Dancer Concrete and Design up there, because they kind of told him that his best talents are visually helping people see the problems through a vision and help them guide through their blind spots and really focus on what it needs to be done. Observing people is Harrison's passion. That's how he really showed up and showed out with his value. He tells companies that inch by inch, kind of, it's essentially, he's like, listen, we're going to work towards this. We're always going to be working towards that goal. And that leadership is a compelling vision, your purpose and why and core values, and find solid foundation. That's just kind of 4 things that they do over at Living Water. And then also, like, if you're going to start working with a coach or consultant, ask them, dude, how much work is it going to take? How much am I going to have to really put in this? How present am I going to be? And Harrison really reminded us, when you're valuable and genuine, you're going to gain trust a heck of a lot quicker. If you have a confidant, ask them, what do you feel my blind spots are? If you can't find it, like my good friend Leah Woodford would say, get your asking gear. Start asking. People that you trust will tell you. That's the accountability comes a lot from Harrison's wife, which is shout out to her as well. And that Harrison reminds us that you discipline with the physical is going to help with your mental. So get up, get moving, get hydrated, get lit, get out in the sunshine if you're lucky enough to have it like I do down here. So I really see Harrison living a life of intention, and does it for the intention, not the attention. He's not like, look at me, dude. He's about love God, love people. That's where Living Water came from. This guy is planting trees he's probably never going to sit in the shade of, because he is authentically relatable. Life well lived to Harrison is, God made us to work in a culture where there are takers. So get out there and work, and you can earn whatever you want. Set no limits on yourself. A huge shout out also to Destiny Rescue for the human trafficking. Check it out in our show notes below. We'll throw a shout out in there for you to catch up with them. And lastly, from the Motor City, Henry Ford, if you think you can or you can't, either way, you're right. So just know what you are limitless, and get out there and get it. And that's what my good friend Harrison does. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's humble. He's hungry. He's handsome devil. He's earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I absolutely love your guts.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. And I want to say thank you for your service that you did. Appreciate I know Veterans Day is just passed. So yeah, man. A special thank you for you as well.
Thanks, brother. We'll chat soon.
All righty.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.